Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. Now, today, unfortunately, there's only three of us today. We are without our co-host, Samuel Carlton. We've had some trouble getting him on this morning, but well, the show still goes on, boys. But first of all, how are we, boys?
Still trying to process yesterday's game.
Yeah, a bit relieved, really. A bit relieved.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Like, I just think that because literally, quick shout out. I reckon it was about 50 points. I think it was like 50 points halftime, or I don't even know what it was. But oh my God, I was calm. I was actually calm. I was like, no, it's fine. And I reckon it was about probably 10 minutes left of the last quarter, and it got to like 2 goals. I'm like, oh shit, they're actually within 2 goals of us. And then it was like a goal, and I was like, bruh, I know what's going on. But anyways, we'll move on. So obviously we're reviewing our game from yesterday, Carlton v Port Adelaide. Carlton got up by 3 points, 14 goals, 10.94 to Port Adelaide's 13 goals, 13.91. But obviously now, boys, we're 4-1, which is absolutely sensational to actually look to how we were last year to now this year. It's just the transition is absolutely like it's absolutely phenomenal. So it's great to see. As we just mentioned, 50 points up. That's a worry, but I just think in total, I don't think we should be too concerned. I don't think, because last year we would have lost that game. That's my opinion. But so what's your thoughts, Steph?
It was a bit of a blur yesterday, I think. The first half was just great footy, and I was enjoying my day at the footy. Sun was out. They're the perfect days on a Sunday arvo. We're playing really good footy all over them. And then, we just played. I think we were a bit arrogant in the second half, the way we played. I think, when we have these fade outs, we just tend to play there. We're very complacent, and we just don't have that free flowing footy we did in the first half. Like, we almost go arrogant, and we actually play worse by doing it. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. And I think we've really got to fix that up, especially, we've got Freo next week, who are playing some very, very good footy. So overall, I'm happy it's 4-1, but geez, can they just make it easier on the heart?
Yeah, spot on. Speechy, what's your thoughts on it, mate?
Obviously 4-1, take that. Any day of the week. If you look at our first 5 weeks and you be able to say, well, 4-1, then you take it every day of the week. It's probably not the most impressive 4-1 we probably could have asked for. With the way we've played, I think we've lost many more quarters than we've won, which is a big concern. But I think in terms of yesterday's game, just being able to get up 50 points, I think, was impressive, and the way we played. It's just still frustrating that we let teams get back in. As they said, we would have lost that game last year or 2 years ago, how many years ago. So I think to just get the 4 points is still positive.
Yeah, absolutely spot on with that. So obviously now moving on to our predictions from last episode. So Ethan, want to take us through how your predictions were, mate? You were pretty close.
Yeah, well, at half time I was like, I'm happy that I'm that wrong about the result. We were 50 points up. I was like, yes. I was actually thinking about the tip. I was like, wow, I'm way off here. And then they started creeping up. I'm like, geez, I could get the closest tip here. And I tipped just by a point, and we only won by 3. So I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. Tipping it right, it's kind of close. But yeah, no, it shouldn't have been like that. Close tip.
Speechley?
I was very, very surprised that Ethan got a closest tip, because normally it's Carlton by 80 and we win by 2 goals. So I was very surprised by that. But I went us by 8, so I was also thinking I was a bit off in the first half. But very close to the end as well with that.
Yeah, like literally, when Ethan said 1 point, I was like, nah, it's not going to be 1 point. And then it ended up being absolutely spot on. But so I obviously tipped the Blue Baggers by 19. That one was a bit. I thought I was being quite generous, because I thought we were probably going to blow them out a little. But I'll say this now, just the supporters, I think when they expect so much more from a side that literally won 2 games in 2018. Like that was what 3 years ago, 4 years ago. We can't like as Ethan said perfectly last episode. You can't be too picky. You can't be too picky with these wins. Like, who cares? We're 4-1. We are 6 on the ladder. Like we're 4-1. I don't know why people are taking out stuff like, oh, we should have smashed them by 60 points. We should have won by more. But last year we were saying stuff like, we should have brought the margin in. We shouldn't have lost by 60 points. We should have lost by 30. Well, that's the difference.
On that, I think the whole overall team is still learning how to win a game of footy. And I think over the last 5 years, I know we've got some absolute talent. The guys like Charlie Kerno have terrible winning records, like team-wise. I think heading into this season, he only won 12 games for Carlton. So that's pretty horrendous, really. And he played probably, before his injuries, he played a fair bit of footy. So, I just think we need obviously, we shouldn't be blowing 50-point leads, but I think we just need to let them build. I'd rather learn by winning than losing.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. So we'll move on to obviously the best on ground who we thought was best on ground. Speech, would you want to take us through who you thought was best on ground, mate?
I mean, personally for me, I had Chaz as my best on ground, 5 goals. He kicked the only 2 goals in the second half. Again, I think it was the same as the Doggies game. He was the only one that looked a threat after half time when we just lost all structure at both ends of the ground. He was the one solid, the one consistent person, with the chaining, either he was taking marks on the wing or in the forward line. I just think he just was a presence and obviously popped up and kicked his 5 goals. So I thought he was very, very good.
Yep. Duffy boy?
Yeah, I agree with Jack. I think Charlie was fantastic yesterday. And I think he's a chance if he continues his form to win the Coleman medal. So my best on ground, obviously there was a few. I think, Walshy was fantastic. Charlie was fantastic. I think Harry presented well, especially in that first half. Jesus Christ, he was everywhere. But for me, it's more just based on the consistent display he puts on every single week, and that's George Hewitt. I think even in that last quarter, last half, where he was struggling, he just finds a way to keep going. Obviously, it's a team game and, we've got a lift in that second half, but he was laying tackles. We were still winning a fair few clearances in that second half, which is surprising how we even ended up choking or almost choking that game. But, geez, could he be one of the best free agent pickups in the AFL?
Arguably.
Honestly,
he's on 450K a year. That's what amazes me.
Yeah, and has he put a step wrong? 33 touches, 90% efficiency. Was he really known for his efficiency prior to this season? I don't think so. He's more of a hard nut, hard of the footy. But Jesus Christ, I'm loving him more every game. Every game, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on with that. I think both of you guys were absolutely spot on with that. George Hewitt and Charlie, these guys are starting to build. George Hewitt, we actually forget, these guys are under a brand new coach. Obviously, it's going to be a brand new system. Like we saw it in round 1, it's a brand new system. And to be 4-1, I just think that because we're only going to get better. That's how I see it. We're only going to get better. We're only going to get used to this system. We're only going to get better. That's how I see it. And it's just so promising that we're seeing this team evolve already with 5 rounds in. They're already starting to evolve. Adam Chera, he wasn't my best on ground, but Adam Chera was also another shout out who was terrific. I reckon that's probably the best game he's played in the Navy Blue. Terrific, just terrific. But my best on ground, probably hard to go past him. Sam Walsh. Ethan, you said it last episode about how you just want to see a Sam Walsh type of game. And my word, did we get it, boys? That was just sensational to see Sam Walsh. For half of the game was sunny MCG, but it turned to be cloudy in the second half. Maybe we kind of lost our form as soon as the sun went behind the clouds. That's where we started to shit ourselves. But Sam Walsh was absolutely terrific. He came out with 38 touches, 76% efficiency with 6 tackles as well. My word, boys, absolutely terrific to see. But we'll move on. So obviously we just spoke about the midfielders then. But I just think in total, the midfielders had to respond. And I think we definitely saw a response. And Mark Pitton at his return, helps them so much. But especially, what was your thoughts on the midfield as a whole, mate?
Yeah, I was going to say having Pitto back was massive. Obviously, they didn't have Lysette, so that helped us in that way. But I think even if he was playing, Pitto was just phenomenal. I mean, his tap work and even his groundwork, I think he got a few clearances as well, and was part of a few handball chains, which is amazing for a ruck of his size. So I just thought that he worked so well with the mids, and it was just a massive, sigh of relief after last week, and how TDK struggled against Wits. So I think that was probably the catalyst to the mids racking up out of the middle.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Ethan?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Jack. I think a big component in our game is our mids being able to dominate the stoppage around the ground, clearances wise. I think Pitto was phenomenal in his development over the last few years. Like I remember the 2020 season, we were just, oh yeah, he'll be there, he's just a, shitty little pickup that'll be there for a couple of years. But geez, I think he's the future ruckman for the Carlton Football Club and where we want to be. And I think he's just fantastic. Like Jack said, he's around the ground. I think in the last quarter, he was picking up balls from down on the ground and handballing out and being the end of the handball chain, getting inside 50. Like, what the fuck's going on there? But yeah, I think our mids were fantastic, as we touched on before. Walsh, Chera, Hewitt. I think Bam Bam was good in the first half. He was a bit quieter in the second, but he did his thing in the first half, which really got us the win. But yeah, no, fantastic response compared to the terrible performance last week.
Yeah. To touch on Matt Kennedy, so he walked out with 22 disposals, but I think the past couple of weeks he's just lost that little bit of confidence, just a little. But yeah, I still don't see him getting dropped from the side. No way. I still think he's definitely in this best 22 side. But I just think the main thing me personally, I think the main thing I got out of that game was just we don't need Matt Keane to get 25 touches every single week, because we have a guy like Sam Walsh getting 38, and we have a guy like Hewitt getting 33 and over 30 plus every game, really. And Chera once again with 30. I mean, not once again, but
and we have Cripper to add back to the mix as well.
Exactly,
he's handy.
He's pretty bloody handy. I just think that's the main thing. Like, I actually forgot. I think it was like halfway through the third quarter, and that's when Port was starting to come back, and I was like, oh wait, we actually don't have Cripper out there. Like, it's just like we forget.
To be fair, they didn't have the Brownlow medalist playing, so I guess they kind of cancel each other out. But still, you can see.
Yeah, no, exactly right. But I think Mark Pittonet was fantastic. It definitely just shows that he's like the work that because we spoke about last night. Me personally, I had TDK as my number one ruck, with Jay Sauce being the second ruckman. But what a preseason Mark Pittonet has had. Like, he must have absolutely, I mean, obviously he's put the work in, but his ruck craft and his touch with the footy, like down low, it's like, I reckon he's pretty much like taking ground balls like he's a bloody midfielder. But I think that was absolutely fantastic to see Mark Pittonet, and he's now really starting to get into that role, and he's still young. That's the main thing that we're seeing, that he's still young. But we'll move on from the midfielders. But now we'll talk about the debut of our captain yesterday. He stepped up, obviously, with Paddy Cripps being out, but Jacob Weitering, his performance. How'd you see it, Speechley?
Look, it was far from his best game. Obviously, he's still a touch off. I think our whole back six as a whole was very average. They got us, Port beat us a lot of times in the second half through the middle, but it was mostly their members' wing. As soon as they got it out on that side, our structure just vanished, and they just cut us open so easily. I don't know how that happened or why that happened, but I thought Weitering, especially in that last quarter when the game was there to be saved, I think rather than one in the end, he was massive. He's taking a lot of intercept marks, playing loose, and I think, when you can put 3 bad quarters behind you and step up like that when you need to be step up as captain, I think that was really, really impressive from him.
Yeah. Daffy boy?
Yeah, I agree with Jack. I think he's been a bit touch off the whole year. To his standard, he's like I feel like he's been probably robbed of 1 or 2 All-Australians the past few years. And he was good, but I just feel sometimes he's just a bit stagnant, and he's a bit, I don't know, like, especially when the ball hits the deck, it's just like, what's his impact on the ball, especially when it hits the deck? There was a few instances in the first half where I think it was maybe Port's first goal, Finlayson was in the pocket, he just gives a handball over to Robbie Gray, and it just looked a bit like he was, I don't know. But again, he had a good last term. I think our defence we held up well in the last term, considering the amount of entries they had. I think that was the best quarter for the defence. But yeah, as it says here, keeping Finlayson and Georgiades to not many goals. Finlayson's, wow, what a frustrating player he is. He's got so much talent, honestly, and like imagine if he played for your team, it'd be so frustrating because he can kick bags easy. He had plenty of it. Like he'd be out from 50, 55 and pointing at the goals, and then has a lazy attempt. But forget about him. I also think Young stepped up in that last term. I think he made some crucial punches. We were talking about it at halftime. He just looked a bit lost. But I think he's that type of player. He hasn't played too many games where you just need to get games into him. And I think once that back six is locked, I think we need to obviously Gov back. That they will be a bit more stable as the games go on.
Yeah, absolutely spot on with that. We'll move on once again. Just before we move on to the Q&A, just thought that I would touch on Liam Stocker. So there's a few injuries and a few players that may return into the side. As we just mentioned, Liam Stocker. Do we see Liam Stocker returning this week, Daffy?
Freo, I think I was talking about it in the group chat yesterday. They're quite a smallish forward line apart from we got Walters, Collier, a few of those little guys. So if we were to bring him in, I think it would be the week we would bring him in, but I'm not sure who he really replaces. Maybe a Parks if we want to go smaller down there, but I'm not sure if he comes in. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one.
Yeah, especially with the Fremantle small forwards impressing. I think it might be Luke Parks was okay. But as we mentioned yesterday in the chat, I don't think he's not there just yet. But Speech, what's your thoughts on it?
It's interesting. Obviously, he's had a couple of good games in the twos. But he was against Richmond in the VFL. I mean, like most of our AFL players, he was poor. He only had the 13 touches, and when I was watching it, he just looked lost. And Richmond Smalls were just running around him, so it was a little interesting to say the least. But as Daff said, I'm not sure who he would replace anyway if he was to come in. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Personally, I don't have him coming in.
Yeah. I mean, once again, like I pretty much say it every week, but it's good that we have players like that in the twos that probably aren't cracking into the side just yet. And it's good that we see like a guy like Luke Parks, Jack Noons, all these guys that obviously impressed in the VFL for a few weeks and maybe didn't grab the opportunity when they actually got called up to the senior side. But I don't like in total, because we won yesterday, do we see many changes like omissions happening next week, Daffy?
I'm not sure. I think I heard O'Brien didn't do well in the twos, but he doesn't tend to do too well in the twos and does better in the ones. I think he's one of those guys being around better players, but no, I'm not sure. Unless it's a young for OMAC, I don't see anyone else getting dropped really.
Yeah, Speechley.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's hard to change a winning team as much as the second half was deplorable. It's still hard to change that team, especially after the first half.
Yeah. So we'll move on. I was about to get into the questions, but I missed a certain sequence, Speechley. But obviously, we'll move on to Speak Up, Speechley, one of our favorite segments, the returning segment. This is just a segment where Speechley kind of cracks into some players and a team in general. There might be some good moments, there might be some bad moments, but Speechley, I'll let you take the show, mate.
Yeah, I was going to obviously have a massive rant about our choking and how it sucks and how we suck and how we're winning the spoon and all this sort of stuff, typical sort of stuff. But then something caught my eye last night and I have to touch on it. Tom Rockcliffe at the footy with his son and then getting spat at by Carlton supporters. I'm disgusted, really, that there's people that support the club, the great club that we do, that we love, that would do this thing. Obviously, we know Port Adelaide as a fan base isn't great, but I think there's never ever an excuse to do some actions like that, especially to a former player who's there supporting with his kid. Like that's atrocious. So I'm embarrassed as a Carlton supporter to be grouped with people like that. Obviously, the actions of a few obviously don't reflect the entire fan base, but it's still embarrassing, and it hurts as a Carlton supporter to know that that there's people out there doing that, and yeah, that's basically it. Just we need to do better as a club and as a fan base, that we just can't tolerate these sort of things, and action obviously has to be taken, because that's just disgraceful, and I'm very, very disappointed that happened yesterday after the game.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Duff?
Yeah, 100% agree. I think it's disgusting, disgusting behaviour. It cannot be happening. That's just toxic behaviour. There's a certain bit of banter between fans. I'm sure he said he probably overstepped the mark supporting Port. He was getting loud, which is fine. We love that in footy. Bit of chit chat, bit of shit talk between fans, but spitting on a guy with his kid, that's not on. And I don't think as a football club we should be accepting that. I'd imagine the next couple of days, I think Bossie's already reached out to him, so that's a good thing. I think they're quite close with in their time with Brisbane and Port. So all the best to Rockcliffe and his son.
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better there. Yeah, to kind of use the Carlton fan base and kind of everyone absolutely shame on, because we all know, I don't know any Carlton supporters who, I generally think we are one of the more passionate fan bases in the AFL, and just see, literally I saw that and I actually thought that it was a joke, and I'm like, there's no way. And then I just saw it more on pages, even on the news, and I'm like, fuck, it's just kind of, because we won yesterday. Why wouldn't you be focusing on the actual win rather than taking the piss and literally spitting on a former, not legend, but he was a very, very good player, Tom very good player, Tom Rockcliffe. That absolutely disgraceful. To literally, obviously we can't speak upon all of the Carlton supporters, but that is just not on. Absolutely not on. We need to remember AFL is an awesome game, and the reason why it is so good is because of the fans. But when you take it outside of the sport, that's when it's not on. It's not on. It's just not on. Spitting, that is absolutely putrid. But we'll move on from that. But is that all you want to add, Speechley?
Yep.
Yeah. Move on from that. But so we'll get into some questions. We probably won't read out too many, but just got a few here, but we'll just read out a few. So edoy_spark asks, do you actually think they wanted to win yesterday? I think that's a little bit of a stupid question, but what's your thoughts on that speech?
I think a game plan must be just play as hard as we can for 2 quarters, get as many points up as possible, and then just try and hang on. I think we tried to win in the first half and then just tried to save it in the second half. Yeah.
Taffy?
That's actually spot on, to be honest. I think a lot of our games have been a bit like that. Obviously, they tried to win, despite probably the lack of effort at some points in the third quarter, especially. But yeah, geez, come on, lads, just get the fucking job done, mate. Put the foot down. I thought we were going to put the foot down. We did. In the second quarter, we killed them, but just do it against the Dockers this week and fucking bit of a statement win. That's all I want. Please.
Yeah, literally half time we said in the chat, put the fucking pedal down, fucking put the accelerator down, and then all of a sudden we dropped a 50-point lead. But now we'll move on from that. Nancy.Nasima asked, if or when do you reckon we will be able to play a solid 4-quarter performance? That's probably reflecting off last question, but Speechy, what do you think the main problem is?
I think it's it always has been, I think, for us is the mental side of the game. I think, we think the game's won. We kind of just take the foot off the gas, and then obviously Port knew they had nothing to lose, being down by 50 points. So they went hell for leather and we just weren't prepared for it. So I think it's a lot of mental things. I think it'd have to be main focus for the group this week to play, at least 3 quarters of footy, but hopefully 4 quarters. So I think it shouldn't be too long. I think the group's growing together, and hopefully not too long before we can play a good brand of 4 quarters.
Ethan Duffy?
I think in the AFL, especially this year, there's not many teams playing 4-quarter footy. I think you don't need to play 4 quarters. Obviously, you'd love to play 4 quarters, right? But even in the Melbourne game the other day, how much they won by, I think it was a fair bit. It was over 10 goals, 12 goals. And they had 2 massive quarters, 2 massive quarters where they kicked up to 10 goals, I think. And it showed in that first half. We still won the game of footy and we dominated that first half and had the momentum, but momentum seems to swing so fast now. I think based off a lot of, rule changes and, stand and all that type of thing, I think the AFL world's just moving to a more quicker footy. I think it's better for the game, definitely. There'll be more comebacks and I'm sure there'll be more records broken in terms of comebacks, which luckily didn't happen yesterday. But I think I'm confident in us putting up a good fight against the Dockers, and I think we can come out with a win.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I think that's probably all for the questions that we'll ask. We probably don't have enough time to ask any more questions, but we'll move on. So final thoughts on the game. I just think that we were very, very lucky to escape with the win. I think definitely we would have reacted. I mean, obviously we would have reacted a lot differently if we lost, but I think I just see it more in a positive light, like 4-1, boys, like top 6. It's just really brilliant to see. But yeah, also can't let the change of momentum occur. Like you can't let this happen because we've seen it a few times this year. We've had really dominant quarter, probably more in the first half, really. But especially against proven sides like Port Adelaide, like they're a prelim side last year. They would have been a side yesterday that wanted to get that win. So I don't know. I think I see it more in a positive light. I think Port Adelaide were probably one of the better teams that we've actually played in that second half. Like the first half, they probably weren't on. But when they started and when they really cracked in, I think it was pretty. I mean, obviously we should have done a little bit better to stop it, but I think we did really well with that. But yeah, obviously we head across to Perth next week to face the Fremantle Dockers, which I think me personally is probably our biggest test yet. Speechy, how do you think? Just I mean, obviously we won't go into it too much in the review show of the Port Adelaide game. We'll do more next episode. But what do you think? How do you see that game folding out?
Well, obviously they're second line at the moment, 4-1 as well, but with a healthy percentage, unlike us. So they're playing very, very good footy. But I mean, we'll be playing them in our white jumpers, and they don't like playing us in our white jumpers. So I think we should be able to get the chocolates there.
Yeah. Ethan Duffy.
I'm just happy we're not wearing those fucking stupid grey jumpers anymore. That's all I'm saying. I think that's last time we lost to the Dockers, we wore those. So just continue with the white trend. The new one's a little outline of the Carlton crest on the front. It's interesting, but briefly, I think it's a game we can get the job done. I think we've got more firepower if we play well enough. But we'll touch on that more in the preview.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you guys said it perfectly there. There's just some things that we definitely have to look at. But I think this is probably a good challenge because this is probably the best side we played this year. Me personally, this is the best side. This is the biggest test we've had, and it's
definitely in form.
Yeah. And I think it's a different mindset that will go into this game. Like we probably won't go in as favourites. We probably won't. I mean, obviously we'll look at it saying we can beat this side, but we probably won't go in as favourites, and I reckon that probably helps us a lot more. But yeah, we shouldn't hide. We shouldn't hide away from it. But I think these boys would definitely be up to it. But I think in total, Speech, have you got anything else to add?
No, all good for me, mate.
Yeah, Ethan Duffy, anything more?
Just something little. I think if we get past this Freo game, I think we can get a few percentage boosters against the Kangaroos or Adelaide. I think probably it's tough. They're not easy games. There's no easy games, I don't think, in the AFL right now, especially based on momentum. But I think if we get through this Freo game, could be 5-1, and then we've got Kangaroos and Adelaide. The lid's on, but if we get a few big wins, I think it might be coming off.
well, to me, after yesterday, the lid is already on. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think if we beat Fremantle, obviously we'll go into North Melbourne and Adelaide needing to win. But I think we should definitely get, especially after the game against Gold Coast, that probably helped us because we probably walked in with a little bit of ego, thinking we're better. But I don't want that to happen, which I don't think it will. But I think in total, boys, we should be very, very positive to how we saw yesterday's performance. I think we played great for the first half. And I just think Port probably just really pulled their finger out and played better. But yeah, so we obviously head over to Perth with huge momentum. But I think we should be very confident against a really good side. But I think if that's all we want to add, boys, I think we'll have to end with up The Baggers.
Go the boys.